We desperately need to pray for Tyler to get excited. Just feel like it's dull, you know? Do you notice his brother moved chairs? Get away. Go sit down. Go to the children's church. Stephen Wolford, do we have our stuff this morning? Where's he at? Is he getting stuff ready? You ready? Awesome. While he's getting it, I want to let you know just what God did this weekend. If you're a visitor, this is us, unapologetic. We're just us. Yeah. We had a men's weekend this weekend, and it was amazing. And it was so funny because we were supposed to have a camp out, but we got rained out. And we were like, we either move the event or move the event inside. And when we decided to move the event inside, we're like, oh, Lord. We moved all the chairs out. We had arcade games on the side, and we had just a bunch of couches and cornhole and dominoes, which do not ever play Stratton in dominoes. Don't do it. Don't let him keep score either. But that was Philip. Hey, LC, he said he's coming. He's coming for that trophy. LC. But let me tell you that we were having, and it was just kind of like a middle school dance at first. Everybody know what I'm talking about? Hung around with your normal friends, stood on the walls. And then all of a sudden we said, hey, let's have a devotional. And we had a devotional. And it was amazing because one of the husbands got to go home that night and go minister to his wife about the very things we had a devotional about and see God bring some healing in some situations. And then on top of that, we're in the middle of our devotional, and then guess what happens? Power goes out. And the first thing Stratton goes, yes, my emergency lights work. And I said, well, guys, I guess we'll go to the restroom and go do your thing. And then we started to hang out. And then all of a sudden, talking started happening. Conversations started happening. Just right there. Perfect. Hey, right? Yeah. No, please. Hey, I'll use that as well, please. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Y'all give Stephen Wolford a hand clap this morning. And then I got to see people that normally wouldn't sit together begin to talk to each other. And then all of a sudden I said, I want some coffee. And me and about 5 to 6 men were sitting in my office. I think we just went in there for coffee. That's it. But we left with a man saying, I don't know how to find God. I don't know if I have a relationship with God, but I want a relationship with God. And he says, I feel like I'm open enough to be able to say that. And all of a sudden, we got to pray for a man in my office. I want to tell you this men's ministry for us is not just a excuse for men to just do stuff. It's to raise up men in the power of God. And then all of a sudden, the men went to sleep. And some went home, and some came back in the morning, and I woke up, and I hear, I'm putting my shoes on, and I hear, I'll jump on him. I don't care. You feeling froggy, then leap, baby. You found the right one today. Good thing my door was locked. He opened the door, and Justin Marmolejo looked through the door. I said, good morning, sugar. You ready? Come on. And the rest of that day, we got to see conversations happening. We got to see men. Stephen Wolford got to bring this, and he began to teach men and boys how to make wooden spoons. And then we got to have competitions and watch grown men get thrown around by a bungee cord. Let me give you some advice. If you're ever on a bungee run and Summer and Jeff's son stands in the lane next to you, take it off. It came off. You ran and it slipped off and
I did not want to go against him. You made me go against him.
But you represented for us older guys. Jordan ran like a gazelle. And I still don't know how he ran just as fast forward as he did backwards, did not lose pace, And I look over and the rest of our guys are getting thrown around. But then, listen, some of you guys go, well, that's not fair. Let me tell you, we had an older man represent on the jousting event. Stratton Simmons showed him how the men work. He swung, lost his baton. The guy hit him with his baton, and he threw the guy off with the other guy's baton. It was bad. Fun things happened, right? Elijah didn't know he played a prank on Stratton and had no clue he did it. They said, hey, let's play hide and seek. Stratton says, sounds good, I'll go hide. Elijah comes to me and says, hey, can we play hide and seek? I said, probably not. He forgot to go tell Stratton we weren't playing. I'm not kidding you. Stratton calls and says, you're never going to find me. He goes, oh, dang, I forgot to tell you. We're not playing. 30 minutes later.
He was outside in the
It was outside in the shed. Stratton don't play. Stratton don't play. The men were very well fed. Jimmy, who had not had a day off in about 5 days straight, came in 2 weeks and still came up and cooked for the men. He's at home. So y'all wave at Jimmy and say, hi, Jimmy. And we just got to see God work in a bunch of men at a church. We got to see a bunch of conversations, and we got to see a bunch of things happen. This is why we do it. But it's a moment happened this weekend that I loved to see. Stephen, if I'm doing this wrong, what's the name of this tool? A draw knife. It's a safe place to ask, right?
Is it a pony?
It is. A mule. You were right, you were close. And what they would do is they would put the piece of wood here, and they'd get the draw knife, and they would pull, and it would pull the bark off. And it would shave off things. Uh-oh.
I love you. It's a safe place.
No, please let me know.
Yeah, it's a safe place.
This is just a guard.
Yeah.
See? Look at this. Bam. So here's the blades. See, I thought the wood was to just protect people from stabbing themselves. Hey, listen. Hey, let me tell you this. This is a safe place for you to learn things. There's no pride in here. I've got a spiritual son in my life walking up and saying, hey, let me show you how you do it. Where's the pride in that? Let me learn. Because otherwise I'd be doing nothing with a dull side of the metal. Do you really love me if you let me? I'm just going to see how long it takes him to find out. 3 hours later, nothing's coming off. And I saw these men, and they're pulling. And then I see little Gideon. Little Gideon. Fumbling. And then I see Stephen Wolford sit behind him. Place his hands on Gideon's hands. Said, here, son. Let me show you how. Let me help you. If you would have looked in Gideon's eyes, he's doing it himself. I'm a big kid now. Right? And he's pulling. And I got to see the way the Father looks. And he was trying. Before he showed up, he was fiddling. And he wanted to figure it out, but he did not know how until Stephen stepped in. What are the areas in your life that you're afraid people are going to find out you're a fraud? What are the areas in your life where you're scared for them to find out you don't know everything? What happens when the area in your life that you're sitting down and you feel like a little boy holding a grown man's tool? Because if you've ever been a father, I promise you felt this before. I don't care how long you've fathered. There's been times as a father you've grabbed the tool and felt like it was too big for your hands. If you've ever been married before, hold on, let's go back. If you've ever been a mother, and all of a sudden now you have to go home with that baby, and now you have this baby, and you're like, I can't break this baby. There's not a nurse to answer the questions for me now, and now they get older, and there's a million books, but it's like I don't understand them because my child's different. And you put a smile on your face when you go in public like it's Mother's Day and everything's good, but then all of a sudden you're at home crying, going, just please stop crying. And you tried to put your hand on the tool and you always felt like your hands were too small. Have you ever been a husband and you're like, I want to be a good husband, but I don't know how to start because my father wasn't a good husband, so I don't have a benchmark to start with. And it felt like it was just too big on your hands and you just didn't think you could do it. And your feet dangled on the mule and you just said, I don't know. And I'm afraid people are going to find out I don't know what I'm doing. What about as a wife? You try to put it together and be a good wife to your husband, but then a good mother to your kids, and you're trying to split the time right, and you're trying to do it right, but there's no time for date night, and there's no time to talk, and you don't feel pretty when you're covered in vomit, and as a pastor, I feel like this often. I feel like as a pastor, my hands aren't big enough for the tool. I look around, and you guys are like, look how many people are here, and I'm like, God, how many people are here? And there's times where I sit there and I go, Father, this tool is too big for my hands. What area do you feel that way? What area do you feel like you're on something that's too big for you? You need another lesson. You need to be taught again because you struggle. And you're like, I'm afraid they're going to find out I don't know what I'm doing. I want you to go to your word for me this morning. I got to type this in because this is for a little bit. Hallelujah. I thank you for your patience. I want you to go to your word and go to the book of Exodus for me. Second book of the Bible. It's pretty easy to find. It's right in the beginning. If you do not know, ask your neighbor. Once you're at Exodus chapter 4, I want you to give me an amen. Okay. God has called Moses to free his people. Anybody ever watch the movie, the old school movie, Prince? Is it Prince of Egypt? Great movie, right? But it has nothing on the Ten Commandments, right, Pastor Lane? That's when they made real movies, right? I'm going to get him started this morning. His Madre's like, please don't start that conversation. So I want you to go to Exodus chapter 4, and we're going to read this morning. We're going to just take our time. You guys ready? And we're going to start in verse 1. Then Moses answered and said, but suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say the Lord has not appeared to you. Moses being sent, he's like, but what happens if they don't listen to me? What happens if I don't have the right answers? What happens if they don't follow me? And so the Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? And he said, a rod. Now, listen, but I want you to use your imagination. I know some of you guys need to blow the cobwebs off on that thing, but get your imagination out. And I want you to see this. Verse 3. And God said, cast it to the ground. And so he cast it to the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from it. See, we get the picture, he just threw it down, like, oh, that's awesome. No. He had a Chris reaction. He threw it down, it became a snake, and he was gone. Bye. Oh, God, we playing this game? Nope, I definitely ain't the one. Cast it to the ground, and it says Moses fled from it. Then the Lord said to Moses, reach out your hand and take it by the tail. Nope, God, I ain't the one. You're right. Nope, you missed it. And he reached it out by his hand and caught it. And the moment he did, it became a rod in his hand. That they may believe that the Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. Did he say that they would be amazed by your skills, Moses? That he would say that they would be stupendously amazed about how well you can perform miracles? No. What was the point? That they would believe that I am your God and that I sent you. Verse 6. Furthermore, the Lord said to him, now put your hand in your bosom. Put it in his coat. And he put his hand in his bosom, and then he took it out, and behold, his hand was leprous. If you don't know what that is, white like snow, skin is just destroyed. And he said, he drew it out of it, and behold, it was, he said, put it in your, let me start again, like snow, verse 7. And he said, put your hand in your bosom again. And he put his hand in his bosom again, and drew it out, and behold, it was restored like his other flesh. Then it will be, if they do not believe you, nor heed the message of the first sign, that they may believe the message of the latter sign. And it shall be, if they do not believe even these two signs, or listen to your voice, that you shall take water from the river and pour it on dry land. And the water which you take from the river will become blood on dry land. Now, stop real quick. Did he say, when you put the rod on the ground, it'll become a snake? Forget that. Did he say it was going to happen and you just got to trust me? Or did he say, put it down, and it happened right in front of him, right? Okay. Then he said, okay, put your hand in your garment, pull it out. And all of a sudden, it's like it's been in the water. You know when you have you take your shoes off, they've been wet, and your toes are all nasty and curly, and totally worse than that. And he says, now put it back in, and it gets healed. God showed that he was God even in this moment. And he says, and if they don't believe that, I'm going to get you to pour some water out, pour it out, and it'll be like blood. God is showing himself. Would you like to see a moment like that? Some of you'd go, oh, I'd take it at that moment. But what is Moses' response? Let's take a look at this. Then Moses said to the Lord, oh, my Lord, I am not eloquent. What does what he asked you to do have anything to do with eloquence? He just told you to do these things, and if not, this is what's going to happen. And he says, oh Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. Slow of speech, some say it was like a stuttering problem. He says, Moses, I want you to go to free my people, and I'm going to do everything. You just need to be there. And his first is, but here's my weakness. My question to you is this morning, what is the weakness that you've been hiding that you hope nobody will find out? What's the weakness in you that you're afraid? See, you saw men around here and they were learning, but there was a moment men would just watch. Because they may just grab it with the wood still on it. What is the thing you're afraid of that people are going to see about you and they're going to find out that there's weakness in you? What is the thing in you that you hide very well? What is the problem that you're struggling with? What is the thing that you're worried people are going to find out, that you cry yourself to sleep and you're afraid they're going to find out? Do you have an anger problem? Do you have a lust problem? Do you have an addiction problem? Do you have a religious judgment problem and you're waiting for the service to leave because I'm not wearing a two-piece suit? Are you struggling? And it's not even just those things. I'm talking about things to where you're not as good. Listen, I went to 1 year of Bible school, Ken. 1 year. And then I learned the Bible school of hard knocks of actually walking it out, doing 13 years of ministry in a cow field. And Brian, I'll tell you, I'll go to pastors' events and they'll start talking. And they start bodying up and they'll go, well, where college did you go to? Oh, I've got my degree in this. What college did you go to? Oh, I've got my degree in this. What about you, young buck? I went to 1 year Bible school. And I'm scared for them to come around to me because then I start making up my answers so I sound good in front of them. What about you're afraid for someone to see maybe when your kid throws a fit because you're afraid they're going to think you really don't know how to parent very well? What is the thing you're very good at hiding? What is your slow of speech? What is your problem? What is your issue? Is it pride? Is it fear and worry? Is it doubt? What is your speech problem in Moses' position? What have you been hiding very well so no one will see the issue? What will you do? I can tell you this, that there's been so many times, Ken, when things will happen in the church and they go, Pastor Chris, what are we supposed to do? And I have no clue. But I've got to put a smile on my face like I have the answer and in Greek. Brian, there's times where we will have marriage counseling meetings with people and I'm going, God, you hear this, right? You hear? Because I can't do it if you're not here. And I don't know what to tell them, and I'm afraid that they're going to find out. What happens if you've got to be the marriage expert for someone else and you're still working on your own? What happens when you're the personal trainer and all of a sudden now you're struggling with your health? What happens when you're trying to teach men what it is to be a man and you struggle sometimes of what a man is yourself? What happens if you're a grandmother and you're having to parent your grandchildren, but you have to put a smile on your face because they need somebody? And what does verse 11 say? So the Lord said to him, who has made man's mouth? And who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say. Gideon was sitting there, feet were dangling, didn't know what to do, and all of a sudden a father came and sat down and said, put your hands on the tool. I will be your muscle. I will be your guide. I will be your strength. I will be your wisdom. I will be your help in a present time of need. I will be everything that you need. I don't need you to be a perfect woodworker. I just need you to be a submissive son. I don't need you to be a perfect pastor. I just need you to be somebody that's willing to do what I ask when I ask it. So I remember it. Also, hey, you ever see someone do something and it looks super simple and all of a sudden when you sit down yourself it changes totally? Every kid about to drive is a perfect driver until they start driving. And I watched the kids were like, so when is it my turn? When is it my turn? When is it my turn? And they finally get a turn and they're like, what now? That's how I felt in 2017 when I became the pastor of this house. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. What do I do now? What about you? Dreamed of having kids and then you realize now your kids watch you. Your kids learn from you. How many of you said, I'm going to be nothing like my dad. And then all of a sudden you woke up just like your dad. And the father comes in and says, where your weakness is, I'm going to show off. Because the funny thing is this. It was never about the project in the first time. It's about this relationship between the Father and the Son. Because if I can get you to trust me now, I can take you anywhere and do things you never dreamed. Some of you fathers are just now starting to follow Christ. And you struggle because your wife knows more word than you, prays deeper than you, has a deeper relationship with God. And you're like, I don't know if I can ever catch up. And I'm telling you to stop catching up and find yourself seated with a father that will teach you to be a father in ways you've never received. Some of you as mothers, your mother was abusive, your mother was destroying, and you say, I'm so scared that my kids are going to hate me like I hate my mother, and I'm struggling with it. And I'm here to tell you, your job is never to be a better version of your mother, but to be the first version that God created you to be as a mother. Your job is to not be a better version of the father you didn't have. My job is not to be the dad that I did not have in my biological father. It's to be the father that God created me to be, because He is doing something in me that is different than anybody else. And He said, who made the man's mouth? I just feel a little in there. Well, I can't talk. Who made your mouth? I struggle at talking. I knit you together in your mother's womb. Watch your mouth. You're disrespecting what I put together. You're disrespecting me knitting you together. Sometimes we've got to be careful with our doubts, because we need to stop maybe doubting the things we struggle with. And what if we started doubting our doubts? Ooh, there's a video I'm going to show y'all in a few weeks. It's you already know. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, it says, and He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. For my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I would rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. While everyone out there is trying to find out to be the best you, I want to learn how to be the most seated person in who He is in me. And stop trying to hide your weaknesses from God like He's going to be surprised when He finds out. We're like, God, listen. I know you anointed me that you put a call of God for me to take the ministry over and run together with Lane and Pamela and to run with them and to be pastor. But God, I don't know what I'm doing. I think I know, but I don't know what to do. And then God started saying, maybe it's because I want to do a new thing. Maybe you just need to not have to unlearn years of things that you were taught and you could learn for the first time. Maybe I want to do something different in Seguin that has yet to be done, and I need someone that doesn't care if it makes them look foolish. I don't care if they have to say, no matter who it puts me with, it takes me from. I'm not here because you're here. I need to clear this up real quick. Ms. Bortel, they need to know I'm not here because there's seats in the room. I'm here because my Father said, be on that stage and be seated and ready to do what I ask for you to do. But Father, I'm from Alabama. But Father, I wasn't very skilled. But Father, I got kicked out of high school. But Father, I've had problems. But Father, I have issues. And He says, stop. Let me be strong in your weakness. Because I have too many people out there flaunting their strengths. I need somebody that's willing to let me shine through their weaknesses. God does not, the world does not need another hotshot pastor that looks great in front of people. He needs a submitted father that places people at the seat, because you have a position at the table that God has called you to walk at. You have a position at the table that God has called you to walk at. You have a position at the table that God has called you to walk at. This is not the movie theater to watch Pastor Chris perform. This is the table that the Father seats you at the table and says, start doing what you were called to do. That's what it is. And it's not just being a better version of who you used to be. It's starting to break the doors open where people actually get to see what Ashley was called to be. What happens when we don't just try not to... So often we're Moses in this situation, just always working on our stutter. And instead of trusting that He's going to be strong in us, listen, I got to work on my stuff. I got to work on this. I got to work on this. He will work on you. And I've got to look different. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I'm not giving an excuse for bad behavior. I'm not giving an excuse for sin. I'm not giving an excuse for weaknesses. I'm saying He will make stronger He says, my strength, my grace is sufficient for you, and my strength is made perfect in your weakness. That means it's not so you can say you got out of it. It's so that you can say he split the water. He's the one that did it. He's the one that changed me. He's the one that worked me. Who's going to get glory at the end of this when they say, look what New Life Fellowship did? He used a fatherless son from Alabama that got kicked out of high school with no Bible to do something great. Who gets the glory on that? It sure isn't me. I was just a son that said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll do it. I got my struggles. And so often we find that the struggles that we have, we've been trying to do it. And God says, how about you let me put my hands on it and work it? Because I've been seeing you go to crying yourself to sleep every night with the same sin struggle. How about let me get a hold of your addiction? How about let me get a hold of your anger? How about let me get a hold of your worry? How about let me get a hold of your fear? How about let me get a hold of it? Because I came to make strong in you where you are weak, so that you can be a tower amongst the people to share the name of Jesus, not to just write another book on how you did it. Because they're looking for real. They're looking for people that are not just perfect in how they do it, but are submitted to a God that has changed their life dramatically. Ephesians 6, chapter 6, verse 10 and 11. Finally, my brethren, be strong. Did you notice that didn't say act strong? Be strong. It didn't say pretend, it said be strong. Because God is looking at something in you that you cannot see. He is looking at something in you that He has placed in you. And He said, look, who put your mouth together? Who did this for you? Some of you are saying, can I do it? Can I do it? And He says, be strong. Stop acting strong. Be strong. And what does it say? Be strong in the what? Did it say in my skills? Did it say in my abilities? Did it say in my education? Did it say in my family name? Be strong in the Lord. Some of you are so tired and making it work because you just are afraid to let God do it because you know how to do it better. But be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might. Here's the best part. Ready? When Gideon sat here, I can do it. What if he said, I can do it. I got it. I could do it. How good is his spoon going to turn out? Probably not. Good firewood. How old is Gideon? 6 years old. But then, because it was so funny, he was trying to saw, and he was struggling with it. And Jordan came up and put his hand on Gideon's hand and his hand on the wood. He said, right here. But if you looked at Gideon's eyes, Gideon was cutting that wood. And what happens is when you allow the Father to come into your areas of weakness, to your areas of struggle, the product is so much better, and He still allows you to have it. Sometimes we'll sit there with a busted spoon, and He goes, if you would have trusted me, but I want to do it myself. And He goes, then you don't understand me. I want to be there with you. I want to walk with you through college so you don't have to be another statistic of somebody that falls away from their relationship with God in school. I want to be there in your marriage so that you don't have to have another statistic of divorce in the church. I want to be there in your alone time so you don't have to be another statistic of a man bound to addiction. I want to be there in your issues so that you don't have to sit there and be in worry and fear all the time. I want to be there in your issues. I'm trying to tell you, you get to keep the spoon. You get to keep it. I just want to help you because I know you can't do it the way you dream in your heart. And I don't see you as weak, son. I enjoy sitting with you and working on this. So some of you need to start knowing that mothers, God is calling you to your prayer closet so that He will let you lay your troubles upon Him. Some of you fathers that are just so wanting to make sure it works and that you're a good father. Some of you need to learn how to know to get alone with God. Be strong in the Lord and the power of His might. But then what does it say? Put on. Hold on, He just told me to be strong. Didn't He just tell me to be strong? Why do I need armor? I don't care how strong you are in Him. There is weaknesses in you. And I've got to have Him protect me so that I stand strong. I have got to have the armor of God on the outside, because I need to understand that though God would want me to do this, this can still be dangerous. This can still hurt me. And sometimes we want God to let us run it, and He's not holding it because He doesn't trust us. He's holding it to protect us. Some of us just want that relationship, and we want that relationship, and we want that relationship. And He says, wait until you let me put my hands on it, because I don't need you to just rush towards the first girl that says yes to you. I need you to be found in me, and then you can find a woman that needs to be the helpmate in your life. Some of us are rushing towards that job because we're like, oh, Father, I want to do it to supply for my family, to supply for my family. And He goes, you don't trust me with $100. How are you going to trust me with $1,000 more? I need you to know I'm the one that supplies for you. I'm the one that takes care of you. And this is the reason why the world hates the church. Because we're broken, but we pretend to be perfect. We're broken, but we pretend that we got it all together. We're broken, and we post the best pictures on Facebook and social media to make it look great that we just got to go on a family vacation, not knowing we fought the whole time. But the sand was pretty. I got to see men at this men's event come together and say, this is where I'm struggling. This is where I need. This is where I'm nervous. This is where I need. And I saw men put their pride aside, and God made famous in it. And I got to see a bunch of men grow together in a way that made God so blessed and glorified, because I saw men put their pride aside and say, Father, teach me to be a man. The world's not looking for a perfect church. They're looking for a seated church that knows that He's strong in their weakness. So my question is this, what are you hiding?